Hi, thank you so much for your interest in watching my capstone. My name is Cassie Cunningham, and I am thrilled to share with you a concept for the Meadows Family Care Center at the Creation Museum. I was honored to work on this project in partnership with Answers in Genesis. Today, we'll look at the purpose for the Meadows Family Care Center, research I conducted, ideas I generated, and finally, the solution I'm proposing. Let's begin by understanding the purpose. I love dinosaurs. This is not a capstone about dinosaurs, but it did start with a love for dinosaurs. This is my family getting eaten by dinosaurs. And this is me. Now, this photo op may look familiar to you if you've been to the Creation Museum. My family took the opportunity to visit many years ago, and even got to attend a class on dinosaurs because we love dinosaurs. The memories we made were incredible, but unfortunately we were only able to go once as a family. This is largely because the drive to and from the Creation Museum is a long way to travel with young children. That's not to mention how difficult it is to be at an exciting museum all day with young kids. More on that later. The Creation Museum is a world-class Christ-centered family attraction, providing immersive and captivating exhibits so guests can understand that the history and the saving gospel message of the Bible are true. It is located in Petersburg, Kentucky, right here, and this massive museum boasts incredible exhibits and, of course, dinosaurs. But the museum faces a problem. Roughly 500,000 people visit annually, most of the guests visiting as families. Remember what I said earlier about it being difficult for an exciting museum all day, to visit an exciting museum all day with young kids? It can be extremely stressful. Currently, the museum doesn't have a space to offer overwhelmed individuals and families. Another concern is that the current nursing mother's room is lackluster. The space is overlooked. What message does that send to the people who need to use it? Yet another issue worthy of our attention is that about 1 in 36 children in America is diagnosed with ASD. This means autism spectrum disorder. Though everyone on the spectrum experiences different symptoms, a common challenge 1 in 36 children face is hypersensitivity to stimuli. It can be extremely difficult for individuals with ASD to visit places that are loud, bright, crowded, like the Creation Museum. There is at present no space for these individuals to go to escape from the overwhelm, so some families are forced to just leave when their child is experiencing severe overstimulation. There should be another option. A guest experience employee at the Creation Museum, who is concerned about the situation, stated, "It says so much when we can take care of the people who are often overlooked and treat them as people made in God's image." She spoke about how often people will call ahead and ask whether the museum provides certain accommodations that they cannot presently offer. She remarked, "It speaks so loudly when we can say, 'We are ready for you.'" How might we make the Creation Museum as ready as possible for the 500,000 guests who visit every year? How might we equip employees to confidently say, "We are ready for you"? That leads me to my brief. Equip the Creation Museum to meet visitors' diverse needs, because through guest preparedness, Answers in Genesis can better champion each person's value as image bearers of God. Answers in Genesis is already planning a renovation that expands the space from what it is now to a much larger footprint that includes a family care center. Guests would enter through any of these doors and have immediate access to the center. Something important to note is that the adjacent hallway is a queue line for 2 large classrooms, so the family care center needs to feel separate and quiet, although there would be crowds outside. The care center should include a central family care area, a family restroom, nursing mother's room, and a calming room or sensory room for children with ASD. From here on, I will be referring to the central family care area as the Meadows, and the calming room or sensory room is simply the calming room. When I refer to the Meadows or the family care center, that is the entirety of these 4 spaces. This is a space Answers in Genesis wants to make a reality. My task is to develop a concept for what this space could look like in the near future. I conducted research alongside Audrey Lee, an exhibit design intern at Answers in Genesis. We facilitated interviews together, investigated the problem, and brainstormed with the team, including designers Shannon Reese, Alan Green, and architect Antonio D'Affieno. Our focus was the people, but there were a lot of people affected. I focused on 3 groups: the employee, the parent, and the child with ASD. Madison Jeffords is an employee at the Creation Museum who wants to serve others well, but the lack of existing accommodations to offer guests makes that difficult. Janelle Mitchell is a mom who wants to care for her children well and worries when they're at places her kids could run off or not be safe. Liam Shepard is 7 and was recently diagnosed with ASD. He's easily overwhelmed and frustrated by noises, and that only gets harder away from home. To better understand these personas, Audrey and I conducted interviews. I mapped out information we gained to better empathize with our target audience, and these insights fueled my later design. Important insights from the guest experiences employees that we talked to were that the space should feel open and not overwhelm guests with more information, because it isn't an opportunity to teach, it's an opportunity to meet needs. They mentioned the need for an adult changing table and a space where adults could lay down for health reasons without being embarrassed about making a scene. Moms mentioned that safety and certainty of safety were key. Parents want good visuals of their children at all times, so the space should cater to that. And some parents don't want their children to constantly use screens, so a non-digital entertainment would be best. Children with ASD need a space with good sound quality and cozy hiding places. Parents need the space to be easy to find, and once they're there, they want to know that the space is safe and that it is clean. A friend of mine whose younger brother has severe ASD mentioned that when his brother is overwhelmed, he copes by hitting his head against hard surfaces. This encouraged me to ensure the space would not enable self-harm, and also that it was as soothing as possible. One mom said to lean towards muted colors, which is dramatically different from calming rooms I found in my research. Studies show that loud colors are to be avoided in spaces for individuals with sensory needs, as they are harsh and overwhelming. Studies also show that order and soft lighting are key elements of a calming space, so I leaned away from these bright, overwhelming stimuli, as you will see later, because the space should be relaxing. Everyone we talked to, in fact, reported a desire but inability to relax for various reasons, which led us to implement biophilic design. Biophilic design is an approach to architecture that seeks to connect building occupants more closely to nature and has been proven to reduce stress, strengthen creativity and cognitive functions, improve mood and well-being, and even expedite healing. I knew that a successful design would have to meet the various needs of guests, as well as display strong biophilic design, in order to provide the highest quality care. I took insights from my interviews, key findings from scientific journals, and organized them on sticky notes. This helped me hone in on 3 ideas I hoped would drive my design. We'll call them design drivers. The space should calm guests, comfort guests, and care for their needs by implementing insights from the research the design team and I found. I took this right into ideation, figuring out how to best apply biophilic design. All of these I was able to apply, what kind of flow the space needed to have, and in general, what I wanted the space to feel like. Audrey and I were asked to not share our ideas until recently, so our concepts were as unique as possible. So unless otherwise stated, the following work is my own. Because much of my research centered around the calming room, I began there. The goal of a calming room is to provide comfort through controlled stimuli. This means limiting unwanted stimuli and offering soothing stimuli, and helps individuals with sensory needs to develop coping skills and regulate their reactions to external stimuli. Studies show that calming rooms can reduce self-harm and improve communication. The Meadows is a much larger space and allowed a great deal of creativity in how to incorporate biophilic design. After I had done some modeling, I presented my ideas to the Answers in Genesis team, and they gave me feedback, which helped me land on my final floor plan. In the Meadows, the flowing forms are inspired by grassy hills and meandering streams, and the seating fosters community, providing zones while upholding clear visibility from any point in the room. The southeastern wall of the Meadows overlooks trees and a pond through a massive wall of windows. The materials in the calming room are very natural and bright, inspired directly from nature. The family restroom is inspired by water and boasts an adult changing table. The nursing mother's room is more feminine and comfortable, Audrey Lee researched what chairs were most recommended by nursing mothers, and this one here is one of the top ones that she found. I also found that the space would be greatly benefited by adding an artificial skylight, such as those made by Sky Factory. This provides intentionality and minimizes claustrophobia. Finally, the calming room leans into soothing blues, greens, and creams. Something I found online was a moss rug. This is a fantastic tactile experience I wanted to include, but it's incredibly difficult to clean, and it's hardly durable. Instead, a more appropriate innovation could be created with a new material. I propose a textile similar to a bubble quilt, but instead of strict squares, more organic forms like those created in free motion quilting, which can be used to make complex designs, and then using hospitality-grade fabric so that the product is easy to keep clean. You can even have animals stitched into the pattern with corresponding meow or bark when the object is pressed. This would be around the trees that you will see later in the calming room. But enough of me talking about fabric. Allow me to take you on a quick journey through the Meadows Family Care Center. This space is a choose-your-own adventure. There is not one right option, but I encourage you to pick your favorite alternatives, as some spaces lend themselves to multiple variations. One of the first things a guest would see after entering the museum is signage for the Family Care Center. The hallway is echoey with voices of people waiting in line for a classroom, and Emerson is severely overstimulated. Her parents were taking her to the calming room so that she can find some peace. Let's follow them in. On our left are the Meadows. These trees were cut by the CNC machine for easy manufacturability. The branches are sound dampening material that helps this space feel quiet and calm. The trees also hide lighting fixtures that are casting shadows on the ground, as well as hiding speakers that fill the space with soft bird songs, water babbling, and wind dancing through canopies. Since there is a walking path outside, the decal on the windows provides privacy while celebrating the breathtaking view. Activity tables along the wall help kids stay engaged. This could be a texture rubbing station with fossils and plants, a sandbox activity that allows guests to shape a topographical map in 3D, or a table with plexiglass over sand, complete with magnets of animals that burrow in the ground, allowing kids to burrow and create stories with these characters. Those are just a few of the options, and activities can even be changed out seasonally, while the rest of the room remains largely the same, such as the seating and the trees. Side note, the moss, there's some moss that you could add to the trees for additional comfort, if that is desirable. You could have additional seating as river rocks here. The far corner is exclusively for babies, toddlers, and their parents, so that they don't have to worry about big kids. The waterfall behind them lets in light to the hallway beyond, and provides soothing biophilic movement, accompanied by water projections on the floor. The grassy hill is a great space to sit or lay down for health reasons without having to worry about everyone else being worried about you, and pull-out seating against the back wall adds further versatility. The family restroom is immediately visible and handicap accessible. It holds an adult changing table with room to spare and has a high-quality feel. The nursing mother's room is comfortable and intentional, with dimmer controls for the lighting, a microwave, table for bottles and other belongings, a large sink, changing table, and of course, a artificial skylight. But let's get back to Emerson. She and her family are heading to the calming room, where they find a delightfully tranquil forest. Emerson immediately spots a hiding place to rest till she feels less overwhelmed, and the sound insulation supplies the silence that she needs. The walls are soft, and this alternative has no hard surfaces that could enable self-harm. Also note that the tree texture that you see here, the moss texture on the trees, is a placeholder for the organic tactile that we talked about earlier. Caregiver seating is close to the door so that children who commonly elope are safe. One option is soft seating, but hanging cocoons are also a fantastic alternative for this space. Another variation for this specific space is cliff painting with thermochromatic paint. And since this would likely involve a hard surface, it is placed close to where the parents would be sitting. A fossil wall could be an exciting Creation Museum appropriate sensory experience, or bubble columns are a highly recommended installation as they display biophilic movement without the use of screens. Hiding spaces should have user-controlled sound such as white noise or nature sounds, if that is preferred. These settings are limited so that one cannot accidentally turn the volume too loud for themselves or for others. Immersed in the calming forest, Emerson soon felt relaxed and ready to keep exploring the museum with her family, making priceless memories. The Meadows Family Care Center provides guests with a peaceful haven to relax and recharge so that they and their families can continue enjoying their visit to the Creation Museum and see all the dinosaurs. The points I touched on were just a few of the ways I implemented these design drivers into the Meadows Family Care Center. Thank you so much for your attention as I walked you through that space. We've seen today the purpose for the Meadows Family Care Center to allow employees at the Creation Museum to confidently say, "We are ready for you." We looked at some key research on the problem and possible solutions. We looked briefly at my ideation and finally my proposed concept for the Meadows Family Care Center, including the Meadows, the family restroom, nursing mother's room, and the calming room. The Meadows Family Care Center equips the Creation Museum to meet visitors' diverse needs because through guest preparedness, Answers in Genesis can better champion each person's value as image bearers of God. Thank you so much for your time and attention. I hope you find this inspiring for how design can positively impact others and that you have a wonderful rest of your day.